some stories about Mary's pregnancy. It was said that Joseph the carpenter was greatly surprised when he knew the story. So he asked Mary, "Can a tree come to grow without a seed?" She said, "Yes, the one which Allah created for the first time." He asked her again, "Is it possible to bear a child without a male partner?" She said, "Yes, Allah created Adam without male or female." It was also said that while pregnant, Mary went one day to her aunt, who reported that she felt as if she was pregnant. Mary, in turn, said that she, too, was feeling as if she was pregnant. Then her aunt said, "I can see what is in my womb, prostrating to what is in your womb." Jesus upsets the Jews. The Jewish priests felt that this child, Jesus, was dangerous, for they felt that the people would turn their worship to Allah the Almighty alone, displacing the existing Jews' tenets. Consequently, they would lose their authority over the people. Therefore, they kept the miracle of Jesus' speech and in infancy as a secret and accused Mary of great misdeed. Mary of a great misdeed. Jesus' ability to debate. As Jesus grew, the signs of prophethood began to increase. He could tell his friends what kind of supper waited for them at home, and what they had hidden, and when he was 12 years old, he accompanied his mother to Jerusalem. There he wandered into the temple and joined a crowd listening to the lecture of the rabbis, Jewish priests. The audience were all adults, but he was not afraid to sit with them. After listening intently, he asked questions and expressed his opinion. The learned rabbis were disturbed by the boy's boldness and puzzled by the questions he asked, for they were unable to answer him. They tried to silence him, but he ignored their attempts and continued to express his views. Jesus became so involved in this exchange that he forgot he as expected back home. In the meantime, his mother went home, thinking that he might have gone back with relatives or friends. When she arrived, she discovered that he was not there, so she returned to the city to look for him. At last she found him in the temple, sitting among the learned, conversing with them. He appeared to be quite at ease, as if he had been doing this all his life. Mary got angry with him for causing her worry. He tried to assure her that all the arguing and debating with the learned had made him forget the time. Jesus does not observe the Sabbath. Jesus grew up to manhood. It was Sabbath, a day of complete rest. No fire could be lit or extinguished, nor could females plait their hair. Moses had commanded that Saturday be dedicated to the worship of Allah. However, the wisdom behind the Sabbath and its spirit had gone, and only the letter remained in the Jews' hearts. Also, they thought that Sabbath was kept in heaven, and that the people of Israel had been chosen by Allah only to observe the Sabbath. They made 100 things unlawful on Saturday, even self-defense, or calling a doctor to save a patient who was in bad condition. This is how their life was branded by such hypocrisy. Although the Pharisees were guardians of the law, they were ready to sell it when their interests were involved so as to obtain personal gains. There was, for example, a rule which prohibited a journey of more than 1,000 yards on the Sabbath day. What do we expect of the Pharisees in this case? The day before they transferred their food and drink from their homes 2,000 yards away and erected a temporary house so that from that they could travel a further 1,000 yards on the Sabbath day. Jesus was on his way to the temple. Although it was the Sabbath, he reached out his hand to pick 2 pieces of fruit to feed a hungry child. This was considered to be a violation of the Sabbath law. He made a fire for the old woman to keep themselves warm from the freezing air. Another violation. He went to the temple and looked around. There were 20,000 Jewish priests registered there who earned their living from the temple. The rooms of the temple were full of them. Jesus receives his prophethood. Jesus observed that the visitors were much fewer than the priests. Yet the temple was full of sheep and doves, which were sold to the people to be offered as sacrifices. Every step in the temple cost the visitor money. They worshipped nothing but money in the temple. The Pharisees and Sadducees acted as if it were a marketplace, and these 2 groups always disagreed on everything. Jesus followed the scene with his eyes and observed that the poor people who could not afford the price of the sheep or dove were swept away like flies by the Pharisees and Sadducees. Jesus was astonished. Why did the priests burn a lot of offerings inside the temple? Worship Pharisees. The eyes of the thousands of poor people. Why did the priests burn a lot of offerings inside the temple, while thousands of poor people were hungry outside it? On this blessed night, the 2 noble prophets, John and Zechariah, died. Killed by the ruling authority on the same night. The revelation descended upon Jesus. Allah the Exalted commanded him to begin his call to the children of Israel. To Jesus the life of ease was closed, and the page of worship and struggled was open. Jesus' message. Like an opposing force, the message of Jesus came to denounce the practices of the Pharisees and to reinforce the law of Moses. In the face of a materialistic age of luxury and worship of gold, Jesus called his people to a nobler life by word and deed. This exemplary life was the only way out of the wretchedness and diseases of his age. Jesus' call from the beginning was marked by its complete uprightness and piety. It appealed to the soul, the inner being, and not be a closed system of rules laid down by society. Jesus continued inviting the people of Almighty Allah. His call was based on the principle that there is no mediation between the Creator and his creatures. However, Jesus was in conflict with the Jews' superficial interpretation of the Torah. He said that he did not come to abrogate the Torah, but to complete it by going to the spirit of its substance, to arrive at its essence. He made the Jews understand that the Ten Commandments had more value than they imagined. For instance, the fifth commandment does not only prohibit physical killing, but all forms of killing, physical, psychological, or spiritual, and the sixth commandment does not prohibit adultery only in the sense of unlawful physical contact between a man and a woman, but also prohibits all forms of unlawful relations or acts that might lead to adultery. The eye commits adultery when it looks at anything with passion. That adultery only in the sense of unlawful physical contact between a man and a woman, but also prohibits all forms of unlawful relations or acts that might lead to adultery. The eye commits adultery when it looks at anything with passion. Jesus denounces materialism. Jesus was therefore a confrontation with the materialistic people. He told them to desist from hypocrisy, show and false praise. There was no need to hoard wealth in this life. They should not preoccupy themselves with the goods and this passing world. Rather, they must preoccupy themselves with the affairs of the coming world, because it would be everlasting. Jesus told them that caring for this world is a sin, not fit for pious worshippers. The disbelievers care for it because they do not know a better way. As for the believers, they know that their sustenance is with Allah. So they trust in Him and scorn this world. Jesus continued to invite people to worship the only Lord, who is without partner. Jesus, as He invited them to purify the heart and soul. Jewish priests tried to embarrass Jesus. His teaching annoyed the priests, for every word of Jesus was a threat to them and their position, exposing their misdeeds. The Roman occupiers had at first no intention of being involved in this religious discord of the Jews, because it was an internal affair, and they saw that this dispute would distract the Jews from the question of the occupation. However, the priests started to plot against Jesus. They wanted to embarrass him and to prove that he had come to destroy the Mosaic law. The Mosaic law provides that an adulteress be stoned to death. They brought him a Jewish adulteress and asked Jesus, "Does not the law stipulate the stoning of the adulteress?" Jesus answered, "Yes." They said, "This woman is an adulteress." Jesus looked at the woman and then at the priests. He knew that they were more sinful than she. They agreed that she should be killed according to Mosaic law, and they understood that if he was going to apply Mosaic law, he would be destroying his own rules of forgiveness and mercy. Jesus understood their plan. He smiled and assented. Whoever among you is sinless can stone her." His voice rose in the middle of the temple, making a new law on adultery for the sinless, to judge sin. There was none eligible. No mortal can judge sin, only Allah the most merciful. As Jesus left the temple, the woman followed him. She took out a bottle of perfume from her garments, knelt before his feet, and washed them with perfume and tears, and then dried his feet with her hair. Jesus turned to the woman and told her to stand up, adding, "O Lord, forgive her sins." He let the priests understand that those who call people to Almighty Allah are not executioners. His call was based on mercy for the people. the aim of all divine calls. Jesus brings the dead to life. Jesus continued to pray to Allah for mercy on his people and to teach his people to have mercy on